Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. And we're live. Hey,
here we are.
Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
New friend here, actually.
First time on the pod, first time in person.
Yeah, first time. So we actually have never hung out before. We don't know each other. We know each other through mutual friend.
Yeah, a lousy mutual friend.
He will be listening. I'll make sure he listens to this one.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he listens to them all. But Neil introduced me to Riley Norris via Tequila.
That's right.
And so to all the listeners, Neil was on the show towards the beginning of the year, and we were sipping on what is called Socorro Tequila, which Socorro, which Riley, you rep. That's your thing, right?
Yeah, man. So we were talking earlier about 2020 and what the pandemic did to the country, right? Everybody was looking for kind of your next step.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, I've been working in drilling tools in the oil field for the last decade. Wasn't really sure what 2020 was going to do to my industry, negative oil price and all that stuff, right? Was introduced to the Socorro brand through a friend of mine, and I slid in their DMs on Instagram, and I was like, hey, man, I love y'all's tequila. Do you need a Houston rep? Like, I'm looking for something to do on the side. And it was just like a perfect fit. They were a small company. They had just launched in April, May of 2020.
Nice.
I reached out to them around summertime of that year, and we hit it off. They're cool dudes. Josh and Pablo started. They're out of Dallas.
Okay.
It's a Texas-based brand.
I love it. You gave Neil a Blanco, I believe, right? Do they have Añejos and all the other...
Blanco, Reposado, Añejo. They have an orange liqueur that just recently released, Jalisco 1562, and they have a really badass 8-year bourbon barrel-aged extra Añejo.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
So tequila, I nerd out on things I get really into. Tequila was one of them for the last couple of years. Yeah. Tequila has a very specific aging process. So all your unbarreled tequilas are Blancos or Platas or Silvers, right?
Are they in a wood barrel?
No, this means they're unbarreled.
Oh, they're unbarreled. Sorry.
So they get distilled, bottled, right? Now, reposado literally just translates into aged.
Okay.
That can be anywhere from like 3 months to a year.
Ah, okay.
So all your reposados can age differently, right? And then añejos are 1 to 3 years. Anything over 3 years is technically an extra añejo.
Ah.
Yeah, añejo means old, right?
Yeah.
Soledad is their 8-year bourbon barrel-aged extra añejo.
I like that.
Yeah, say it with a little subtle Antonio Banderas behind your voice.
And tequila only comes from one region in Mexico too, right?
Correct. There's 5 states in Mexico that grow agave, which is fascinating because you can grow agave outside of those regions, but it's just like Scotch or champagne.
Yeah.
You can make it, but you can't call it tequila.
Exactly. Because just on the side of my house, I don't know if I showed you my whole farm of tuna.
You have an agave? So there's
what's the climate that it kind of needs?
You want dry, arid, rolling hills.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot like Central Texas, actually, they grow a cousin to agave in Texas called Satal. I say cousin. I'm not a botanist. But It's a similar plant which has the same similar bulb structure. So agave, a lot of people think it's like aloe, right? Because it looks like an aloe plant, but actually it's a little more closer kin to a pineapple.
When you see the bottom bulb,
Right. So the bulb of an agave plant is called a piña, which is also Spanish for pineapple, but it's this like almost like an artichoke heart, like a thick bulb, and then they quarter it, roast it, mash it, and that's what creates your base for tequila. But Satal, in a similar kind of plant structure, makes a similar juice. Satal is like
interesting.
Is like this is a poor translation, but it's kind of like Scotch is to whiskey, or mezcal to tequila. Is Scotch is to whiskey. You know what I mean?
So it's like
it's kind of like that. It's like
a fun little cousin that comes to the party, gets drunk.
That's right. It's probably like more people would like to call their product tequila, but they make it with the Satal plants. They can't call it tequila.
Interesting. So what do you do with all the stuff around what is it called? The bulb? What is it called again?
The piña.
The piña.
The piña. Mm-hmm. Outside of the piña is the what are they called? The fronds, like the leaves of the agave. They shred it, pulp it. They use a agave nectar, like a lot of people know, is used for sweetening and stuff like that. But the agave strands is a lot like hemp. People will shred it and dry it and use it for wares, textiles, and stuff like that.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, man. So I got to go down to the Socorro distilleries in Arandas, which is about 2 hours drive from Guadalajara. And that part of Mexico is so underappreciated. Because people, like, when they go to Mexico, they go to Cancun, they go to Playa, they go to these, like, touristy towns.
Acapulco.
Right. Yeah. People don't actually go to Acapulco anymore because the cartel's apparently really bad there. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Well, that's what...
Yeah, right. So, but in south central Mexico is where Guadalajara and, like, all the rolling hills and all the agave fields are. But it's just like central Texas. It's these small towns. It's these family-owned restaurants. Like, we went there. I visited the distillery.
My dog just hopped a little
Goose.
Goose.
Good boy, Goose.
Good boy, Goose.
And we go to these, like, birria or carnitas restaurants, and it's awesome. We rolled in there, we're like 30 deep, and they're like, yeah, what do you guys want? You want some Modelo's? They just bring you beers and delicious food. Goose. Crash
Everybody,
the party, buddy.
Welcome to the party, Goose. Go lay down, buddy.
Smile for the camera, buddy. Good dog. Good dog, Goose.
So did you go down there, like, mid... pandemic?
Well, no, I was down there in October of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was right around the time I was part-timing for Socorro for a while, just kind of like mood lighting and doing fun like brand ambassador promo stuff. And then was kind of digging a little more into it and went down to kind of see the distillery. I met the master distiller Chema.
Nice.
So here's what's a really cool thing that I really appreciate about tequila. And it's the same really for any like style of spirit, but there's families that are like generationally known for making good spirits. So in Mexico, like your Don Julio's, your
Jose Cuervo, right? I mean
any major brand, right? Yeah. But then there's these other craft tequila makers. So for instance, the Socorro brand is made from the distillery which is Casa de Camarena. So these guys have been making tequila since 1938. Wow. And they've got like 4 or 5 generations of people that have been tasting and making tequila their entire lives. Like, you go to these estates and it's this huge production, right?
I bet it's beautiful.
But it's so cool because it's like this big just garden and like this beautiful facility. And these people have been making tequila since they grew up around a tequila farm,
since
right?
the dawn of time.
So I asked Chema, our master distiller at Socorro, I was like, hey man, do all you guys like know each other? Like, are y'all all like, is it kind of a tight-knit community? And it was translated to me, but he basically said, he's like, the OGs know each other.
Us OGs, we like each other.
Tequila OGs. Like,
everyone else, they can go bite it.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get to go watch them farm them?
Yeah, I got to cut a piña.
Oh, that's cool.
I grabbed the guys that cut agave plants are called jimadores. So El Jimador is a very popular tequila. And then you notice their logo is like the guy holding I forget what it's called, but it's like a shovel or a spade, right? You cut the fronds off of the bulb, and then you have your main piña, which is just your heart of your agave plant, right? And then they load those up in the truck. But agave is a lot like poison ivy. So like if you touch it, it'll make your skin break out. So one of the dudes that was down there with us picked one up and just like showing off, and he was just like all bright red the rest of the weekend. Yeah,
that's awesome. I have seen a video of them, cutting them up and then throwing them in the back of one of those like flatbeds.
Yep. That's
cool. So did you get and I'm assuming that you got to go take a whole tour of the factory or the plant?
Yeah, no, I got to see it from harvest all the way to bottle.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was so cool, man. So
and that's one thing, like I really have always wanted to go up to just north of us up into Kentucky to go see like the Maker's Mark and
so I misunderstood that. I thought coming here I was gonna be able to like hit some distilleries, and there's one in Nashville, the Davidson's Reserve.
Yeah, and
it's made around the corner from our Airbnb, but
there's another one down in Leeper. There's a few little ones, but the bigger ones are definitely outside of the town, and I've been wanting to go just because I think like you said that kind of stuff is just really cool because it has been around for centuries or
generations. Many generations of people just hustling hooch, and
they hand down these recipes to their kids, and I'm sure now they're written on multiple pieces of paper in multiple safes around the world, but I mean that's still something that had to be given from a great grandfather to
Uncle Ernest.
And everyone thought he was everyone thought he was crazy at first. They're like, oh yeah, him and his hooch that he brings to the party.
Right.
Little did they know, like here they are in Alabama shooting fireball.
Yeah.
Now that's a bad description of Uncle Ernest's homemade whiskey, but it is cool. I think that not a lot of people get a chance to go to I've been to the Guinness factory in Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And it is cool. It's not like oh my gosh, I flew all the way to Ireland just for this.
Yeah.
But while you're there, you might as well partake, right?
Yeah, what the hell?
So if you're going to go to Mexico, you might as well have fun in the tequila
I agree.
plants.
Well, what's cool too is like when you go down there, tequila has such a different culture in Mexico than it does in the States. So and I a lot of what I did with Socorro and what I still do now is like educating people on tequila culture, because so many people still associate a shot of tequila with like, I had this wild ass night, then I took a shot of tequila, and they always associate it with a bad hangover, right?
Yeah.
And I'll usually ask people, I'm like, how many beers did you have before that shot of tequila? Do you really think it was the tequila that hurt you? So tequila, good quality 100% agave tequila, uses it has a type of sugar in it called agavins, which is a very simple sugar that your body processes really naturally. So if you drink neat tequila or like tequila on the rocks or whatever, you won't get a hangover because of the sugar content, but how your body processes super fast, which is also why people, when they drink tequila, they don't feel drowsy or like, which is funny because that's like kind of what I'm known for. My friends all make fun of me because like we'll go, like there'll be a game on and I'll be dozing off at halftime, like having a couple beers. I'm just like,
give you a shot of tequila.
And then, but if I drink tequila, it doesn't happen to me because your body it sits light on your body.
Is it also have probiotics of some sort?
Yeah, it's good for gut health. I don't quite know the science behind that, but that is true.
I've heard that. I don't know either. But
so talking about the culture of tequila in Mexico, when you go to a restaurant and like you order a bottle of tequila, it's not like a let's all fucking shoot it and get drunk.
Yeah,
you sip it after you eat, and it settles your stomach.
Yep, and that's what...
and it's awesome because it's all very good tequila down there.
Yeah, and that's what, to me, when I used to live in Austria for a little while, and...
What was that like?
It was an incredible city. Vienna, Austria is probably one of my favorite places in all the world. There's so much culture there and just so much awesome food. And
You've been to Japan? That's a completely unrelated question.
I have been to Japan.
And it is someday.
So that is a completely like... there's
night
like
and day.
Like two completely, but old though. They both have super old, really cool things that you can go see a palace from like the 14th century.
Yeah.
You can go to Japan and see a palace from the
with
900s.
The cool, like, samurai roofs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And and to just get completely off subject, the one thing that I found the coolest about Japan was that they embraced technology while holding true to so many old values. So you could like be in one block and be completely inundated with everything new. robots talking, vending machines giving you pizzas and coffee and everything. Turn the corner and there's a 2,000-year-old staircase that you can climb that has this beautiful architecture and a pond up on top and a little well to go and hang out on. It's like, whoa.
Embracing the old and the new. That's awesome.
It is. It really is cool. And so, I mean, to me, traveling was always a giant thing. I loved Mexico. Mexico was one of my favorite places to go. And it's because, like you said, like, we treat it like a party most of the time. Like, sake bombs and...
Right.
I mean, name the city and then name the drink there, and then the United States will somehow find a way to turn it into a giant party, which is totally cool because whatever. Like, that's what... We're like a mixed pot of everything, right? So it's like, well, we don't know how to handle sake the way that the Japan do, but I enjoy it, so I'm going to get drunk on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to drink tequila like they do in Mexico, but I enjoy it, so I'm probably going to take
Regardless, I'm going to drink that tequila.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I get what you're saying about the whole sipping it, because when I was younger, just all I wanted to do is shots of tequila.
Right.
Now, I'm like, I'll pour a glass of tequila and sip on it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just because it tastes good. And especially the better stuff too. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. So tequila has seen the renaissance that bourbon experienced over the last like decade.
Yeah.
So you start, I mean, outside of obviously just celebrities jumping in and everybody has tequila now, but like your common consumer is asking about tequila, like, hey, and they started realizing the spectrum of tequila, because everybody always associated that like kind of peppery burn that people get with traditional tequilas that gives you that kind of like tequila shiver, right? But tequila is made in two geological regions across Mexico. There's your highlands and your lowlands. So your highlands produce like the sweeter finishes, and your lowlands are more the earthy, like peppery style. So it's a lot like Scotch.
Interesting.
You have your space sides that are that real mossy, peaty kind of flavor, and then your blendeds or your single malt. Or I'm not a Scotch expert, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's different flavors to it, right?
Yeah.
And people are just kind of starting to learn about this, and they're drinking tequila outside of margaritas now. And that's how I got on tequila. My brother actually first put me onto it because he was on a bit of a health kick. He's like just trying to find like the easiest thing to sip that wasn't going to make him feel like a piece of shit. and he started drinking tequila. And I was like, man, I'm actually vibing with this. I'm enjoying this. We're sipping a couple of reposados and like enjoying it. And then I kind of just dove into it. It's kind of, I have a habit of diving into hobbies in like a real big way. It was like, bicycles for a while. It was fishing. It's hunting. It's,
There's
next week it'll be something new.
I just had a friend on the other day that was like, about every 6 months I get into a new hobby and I go all in. I'm like, hey,
pot committed. I'm the same way.
If you can, hey, I have nothing against that with anyone, because I feel like you do learn stuff though. Even if you don't go through with it, now you know how to fish the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you had to go catch a fish to eat, you now know how to fish. And if you ever had to start your own tequila brand, well, now you know how to start a tequila brand.
Or just how to drink it properly. I learned enough to know that I don't ever want to own a tequila brand.
Yeah. I will say this. Up until maybe, let's see, it was 2016, I was on tour with Carrie Underwood. And we always did these really fancy, like, end-of-tour dinners and stuff like that. And I've had my fair share of tequila, but up until this time, I've never seen someone sip on a tequila. I've always just seen it shot. Maybe no salt, maybe no lime or lemon, whatever, but I've never seen it just sipped on with an ice cube. And we go to this expensive dinner, which I got in so much trouble by my company. It was 7 of us, and we raked up like a $4,000 tab. It was at, I think it's called the Strip Steakhouse in the Mandalay Bay. I had a $190 Wagyu tomahawk. I mean, I ate
all
it
the buzzwords.
Oh, I had to. Well, it was written on the menu, and like if you were a high roll or if you were in Vegas wanting to spend money, it was like the top thing in bold letters.
Bold flake.
It had flashing lights at me. I was like, I might as well order this, and then I ordered it, and like all 7 other people were like, I might as well have the same thing. And then it was we all went down and we were doing like Pappy, and
yeah, sure.
It was my first time having what is that? Yamazaki from Japan.
Yeah, Japanese whiskey.
Oh, and it was delicious. I remember I was like, I'll take the Pappy like 20, and the guy was like, yeah, we're out. I was like, dang, that stinks. He's like, but I got this other stuff that's like the jam.
But I'll charge you the same for this other thing if you like.
He actually told me, because it's cheaper and it's better. And I will say, I thought it was better.
Yeah.
But
I've never had Pappy.
It's good.
So
I like the 15 is like, or no, sorry. Yeah, I think it's the 15 is like my favorite.
I'm the opposite of a bourbon snob. Let me explain. I have people all the time that are like friends of mine that are real big bourbon guys, and they'll be like, hey man, I know you're like out peddling tequila. You ever run into a bottle of Blanton's? Grab me one. I'm like, nah, man. Because there's really good $40 bourbons.
Yeah.
Like,
I like Evan Williams.
Yeah. There's this stuff in the plastic bottle back here that I really like. I can't find bourbons that I hate. So
nah,
Goose.
I'm the same way. I'm like, you know what? Like, if I have the tab to do it, I'll do it just because I want to try it, but I'm not going to go out and do it. But I got in a lot of trouble with it. But the guy, my bus driver, Chu, who's hysterical. I still talk to him to this day. I went to lunch with him not too long ago. We invited him because one of the other guys didn't want to go. So he was like, why don't you ask the bus driver? He deserves a good, because this is a popular thing. It was like something we did on every tour. You went and had an end of tour dinner. And so he's like, Chu deserves a dinner. Like, he's been driving the heck out of the bus. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So we go and we're all ordering all these like expensive whiskeys. And he's like, I'll have a 1942. And I'm like, what the F is a 1942? And a tequila? You're going to shoot tequila before dinner? And he's like, I'm going to sip it, Chris. Just chill. And I was like, okay.
All right, bro.
I tasted it, and I was like, first off, where has that been my whole life? Because I've been drinking rubbing alcohol out of a freaking plastic cup in Mexico for way too long. That is delicious. And that was my first real experience with good tequila. So I will say, you're right. There is something to be said about sipping it, enjoying it, doing that process that they did down there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really know the proper way to sip spirits neat until I started working for Socorro. Josh Irving, the founder of Socorro, kind of showed me like the best way to taste any. And this is the same is true for bourbon, scotch, gin, doesn't matter. But what Socorro does that's pretty unique is they aerate their tequilas before they bottle it.
Okay.
So like if you go to a restaurant and you order a bottle of wine, what do? They pour you a little bit, swish it around,
and
then you smell it, right? You're airing it out. You're opening it up. They do the same thing when they distill their tequila. So they pump oxygen straight through the tank. And what it does is it softens up that palate really nice. And so when you sip it, it sips very mellow.
Okay.
Right? But that's true for all spirits. When you drink it, you're supposed to sip, savor, swallow, and then you breathe out real slow.
Me and Neil have been messing it up our whole lives. We
Straight to the dome.
Been trying to get as much in as possible.
How can I get this in my bloodstream immediately?
I feel it was funny. I reached out to Neil before after you'd reached out, and I was like, "Hey, I know you
this
know,
guy has
right?
To shower at my house. Is he weird?"
No, I had already asked him, but no, it was just a general like. I was like, "Hey, I know him through what you've told me," but I was like, am I like, what's the surprise? Any surprise? He goes, no, you're gonna instantly like him. He's just like us, and you'll have fun. I was like, okay, if he's like us, then we're fine. So I was like, he's either gonna show up with a handle of something and about 60 beers, or he's just gonna come in and be like, hey, today I actually have to be responsible, and I'm just gonna have like 2.
Yeah. One or the other.
yeah. Like, and I always tell my wife too. I'm always like, BK, I can't just go have one, and it really is hard. And I will find a way if I have to have one, but normally I want to have like 17. So to sip on something, I now can slowly get into that process because I do enjoy it. So
sure.
But 5 years ago, Phil, no. I would have been laughing at this podcast.
I get in trouble all the time when I'm on my way home from downtown, and I got a couple of friends that like own a couple of like beer joints like up and down the north side of Houston, from like downtown to the suburb that Neil and I live in. And I'm always like, yeah, I'm on my way home. And then it's like an hour later, she's like, why are you not home yet? I was like, got delayed.
Oh my gosh, traffic.
The traffic
Crazy.
At the D&T lounges.
Yeah, couldn't pay my tab fast enough.
They can hear.
The credit card machine's stuck.
If she texted me and I take too long to respond, she's like, "You're at D&T, aren't you?" I'm like, No.
No.
Why would you say that?
Now, with tequila, when you first started to like get in with Socorro, you said you loved tequila from the start. Has that always been your go-to?
No. I was always a beer and bourbon guy, right? So,
where did you kind of?
Well, I transitioned into tequila because, like I told you, my brother was on that health kick.
Yeah.
But I started focusing on tequila because it doesn't make me drowsy.
That's the kicker.
So I'll be after a couple of beers. I'm not any fun to be around, and like generally everybody's like, "Why is this soul sleeping?"
So it took a couple times for you to realize, oh wow, tequila is
a little lighter on my body.
And now was it Socorro first though? You like when your brother when he was on his health kick, was it?
No. He was on his health kick. I just started trying different tequilas. There's a lot of good tequilas out there. And this kind of goes back into what we were saying about, like, you know, your driver order 1942 and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of brands out there that are amazingly good tequilas that don't get any press, probably because there's no celebrity, or there's no influence, or there's no local, like, there's just small families in Mexico that make these particular brands. So, for instance, like, I love Socorro. Socorro's, like, honestly the perfect flavor for what I like to drink. I'm not saying that because I have a connection with them. Honestly, like...
Well, you DM'd them.
I know. I reached out to them because I like their tequila. That was no bullshit.
Yeah.
But like Fortaleza, Siete Leguas, like some really great tequila. There's a tequila out there called Tapatio. And if you see this, I'm telling all these people this, like, Socorro is mostly only available in Texas, but if you're at a liquor store and you see a bottle of Tapatio tequila, it looks like well tequila. The label has like a guy with a sombrero. It like just looks like corny tequila.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal.
Okay.
And is like probably one of my top 5 tequilas out there.
I love it.
And it just looks like a normal bottle. It looks like something you'd see in the well at your dive bar.
I love that. My 2 people I toured with on multiple tours, their whole thing was going liquor store to liquor store because region to region gets different.
That's right.
You know, not every liquor store in the world gets, you know, all the best stuff. So they're little gems, and we'd be in like New Mexico one day, and they'd call around and be like, "Hey,
New Mexico's a cool place, huh?"
Well, they just, especially as you get closer to the border, you're probably gonna have a better chance of finding some of these like off the wall ones. My buddy Juan, who was just on the show, actually, I just dropped his episode. I guess whenever this comes, it's probably been a few weeks by then. But he is from Mexico, like born and raised in a small town in Mexico, and when I go to his house, he always has just the most random bottles. Some of them don't even have labels on them.
Those are the good ones. Those are the good ones.
They are delicious. And there's one that he has, and I want to say it's a beaded. Like the whole bottle is beaded.
Oh, so that's a style in Mexico. Yeah. They're like little like colorful beads like glued all over the bottle.
Yep. And he told, I might have this wrong, but he got that one at an airport, and he's only ever found it at an airport, or maybe something like that. But it's one of those ones where like, probably a very small family has an in with the liquor store in the airport, and they sell it there. But every time he flies out, he gets a couple bottles and flies home with them. But it's super just delicious tequila. And when he was on the show, we were going through his closet of tequila, and he's like, well, do you want to do this mezcal or this tequila or this mezcal or this one? And I was like, you just choose. Because I just
pick me something good.
and he did.
When we were in Mexico and I was visiting the distillery there, we went to this little small town, stopped at like a taco truck, and there was a little like, it's like a gas station, but they just have bottles of tequila back there if you just want a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
And they're all brands you'd never see here because they're so it's a different, not license, but it's a different like level of business to export it. So there's a lot of tequilas that never make it out of Mexico because they're just made and sold around the towns there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of them are phenomenally good, and they're in the distilleries like that make for Humidor or whatever. They'll blend for anybody that approaches them. So like you and I could go down there and be like, we're going to start a B&B tequila. Here's however many thousands of dollars it takes to create our brand, and be like, just make us another blend. And they might blend 100 different tequilas.
Gotcha.
75% of that never leaves Mexico. A couple of brands they sell elsewhere, right? So like Socorro, their distillery only blends for like 3 or 4 brands, but there's some of them that blend for hundreds of brands. It's just like a bakery or anything else, right? They'll make it for anybody that asks them.
I mean, that's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. You go down to these guys, that's all they do. All day is they make tequila.
It's funny because, yeah, like you said, you've stated this earlier, there's a few celebrities that are now in the tequila game. Was it not Richard Gere, who's the one from Ocean's 11?
George Clooney.
Doesn't he have Casamigos, and then The Rock has the Terramana. Kendall
the guy
Jenner,
from Maroon 5. The lead singer from Maroon 5. Adam Levine. He's got Cali Rosa. The Jenner has 818.
818, yeah.
I say the Jenner, but you know what I mean.
One of those.
The band Midland. They're from Texas. They have one called Insolito.
Really?
I haven't tried it. I don't know if it's any good, but
what is the blue bottled one?
Casamigo. No, it's Clase Azul.
Clase Azul. All right, and that has like the little ringer on the top.
Yeah.
Tequila's just fun.
Yeah,
I think Mexico is just fun in general.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said earlier, tequila's going through that revolution, that bourbon experience, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened is all these celebrities saw George Clooney make $1 billion or whatever he made on Casamigos.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, hell, I can do that because it's still pretty much an untapped market.
Well, it's just like you said, all they have to go is down to a distiller and be like,
knock on the door and be like, hey, I'm going to start a tequila brand. They're like, cool, what you want to call it? All right. And we'll have some out in 6 weeks.
They're not going to tell you no.
No.
Like, you want to pump some money into my brand? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to make tequila? Sure. There's probably good money in going down there and just starting a tequila brand because like through 2020, international shipping, as everybody knows, was a problem, right?
Yeah.
So getting things across the border was an issue. And so there was good money to be made in just figuring out how to get your product across the border.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like a drug deal, but like, you know what I mean? Like you could go in there and be like, hey, here's a tequila. We'll call it
B&B.
We'll call it B&B tequila, right?
Yeah.
And then as long as it's available, like there's a lot of times I go into restaurants and be like, hey man, we're a Texas-based tequila company. Like there's no celebrity behind us. They're like, hey, cool. How much is it? And I tell them, they'd be like, yeah, sweet. We'll buy it.
That's awesome.
So just like that.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, it was. So I really enjoyed it.
That's a cool hustle though. And I say hustle because like it's like kind of hustle and bustle. You get to go out and see the people, talk, shake the hands. You know?
Like I mean, if the oil field like dried up tomorrow and I didn't have a job, I'd probably go back to the restaurant industry. That was my background. I
always had a crazy thing that I would tell people, like if I won the lottery, I'd go back to cooking at Hooters, but I'd show up in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Just because it was
done on all these other cooks.
It was such a fun, easy job, and like honestly, like there was an enjoyment about yelling like 50 wings coming in, you know, or whatever, and then you send them out and you yell the girl's name.
86 Daytona.
Yeah, 86 French fry. Or yeah, exactly. Like there's something very Anthony Bourdainish, like cutthroaty.
Dude, that was one of the celebrity deaths that really affected me. I had a couple bad days after he died. I was like, Robin Williams were probably the two that hurt me the most.
I remember exactly where I was. I was in Orlando, Florida. We had just done a private show, and I thought that I'd read, and I was like, "There's no way I'm reading this in the news right now." It was crazy because I read his book. I had him sign it. He's always just been super inspirational to me as a human in general, and it was really hard to take that. Yeah, that was a big one because he did exactly what you're talking about. He went down to these places and up to these places, and he put himself in these really cold and hot environments. We were actually watching him last night.
He was in the trenches.
He would, but he didn't do it just to go. The thing I loved about him is he didn't do it to just go eat the cow butt just to be on TV to have the clickbait of him eating something gross.
Yeah, no, he was meeting the people.
He was in there eating what they ate because they ate it for the reason that their region and their culture and the time of the year and I always loved that about him. And then he would drink the drinks, you know, like we were watching him in I think he was down in Bogota, Colombia. And it's like, here's this guy eating a bowl of whatever. Yeah, you want to pause?
Yeah, just a quick second. I use the restroom.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Is that cool?
Yeah. All right, a little bathroom break. We're back in it. Hey, it happens. I find myself on these things. I'm like, man, sometimes I just have to, I'm going to have to go. Well, and then too, we have the kids. So sometimes we have to pause and we're like,
sure.
By the way, I'll see you in a minute.
This is for a family timeout. Yeah.
No, but Anthony Bourdain, yeah, I mean, he was like absolutely to me one of the most influential people in bringing culture to people, because he did exactly what we've been chatting about this entire episode. Is he's giving you the tools to say, oh wow, I never knew that about this product or this food or this culture or this anything. He just always had such a really cool way of explaining it.
Yeah,
I think you brought a lot to. You've said some stuff about tequila. I'm like, awesome. I never knew that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I grew up in Northwest Houston, and like, you know, El Paso's probably similar, very multicultural, right?
Yeah.
And then I got older, and a good friend of mine, Justin Lamb, his family's half Chinese, and like he would take me to like Chinatown, like some really cool restaurants that his dad would take him to, and then I dove into a bunch of different cultures and restaurants in Houston. And what's awesome about H-Town is that almost every country in the world has a restaurant.
Yeah.
Somewhere inside the Beltway. So like when I used to live in I lived outside the Galleria area, but I could go down Westheimer and hit every possible country.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go get Indian food, I'd get Thai, I'd get sushi, I'd get whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brazilian steakhouses and, you know, Argentinian little like.
It's a great culture there.
It was so cool. Like and so obviously I always kind of lean towards the Bourdain style of like cultural through food.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, like
food and beverage too, my favorite hobbies.
You'd be crazy to say that. Like, I love food and I love beverages. That's why, like look at me, Bevvies. I named a whole show after Bevvies.
It's your life, yeah.
My life. Because it is though. I think that really brings people together. Like we don't even know each other, and like here we are enjoying beer and a backyard, and we're talking like we've known each other for 10 years.
Yeah,
that's exactly what this show is, and that's exactly what like Bevvies do to people. I think it brings people together, because you can sit at a bar in an airport and not know a single person, have a worst day of your life. You sit down, you order a beer, and the guy next to you says one thing, and next thing you know, you're talking for 4 hours. You miss your flight.
Yeah.
And it's true. It happens all the time. And I think that's what is amazing about something like Houston, because I always took Houston as just a big, annoying town. I never saw it for what it was. I moved there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a really cool, diverse town.
Yeah.
And then I see that episode about Anthony Bourdain, and he's there, and he's like, this has one of the biggest.
Yeah, I'm riding around with Slim Thug today. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah. Here's Slim Thug. Here's freaking Paul Wall, and we're eating like. They went to every restaurant, and they were talking about how Houston has some of the biggest it's very diverse in restaurants.
Yeah, for sure. Did you watch Ugly Delicious on Netflix? I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's like a Asian
I've seen it.
Chef.
Chang. No. I know who you're talking about, though. But yeah.
The dude is super, super talented, knowledgeable, but he has a great job of hosting. And he does kind of like Bourdain, goes to different cities, tries out the local fare and fauna. But he comes to Houston and he shows the Vietnamese Cajun.
Oh, wow.
Which is a very underappreciated sector in Houston. Wow. So, like, crawfish boils, but with this Vietnamese influence.
Ooh.
And it is fire. Dude, it's like probably my... Oh, man, there's all these little hole-in-the-wall crawfish joints around Houston. There's one called LA Crawfish. There's another spot that's like Vietnamese, Cajun, Thai. It's called Lotus Seafood.
Interesting.
Dude, let me tell you about Lotus Seafood. For all you viewers, they have something called the Loud Pack or the Hot Box.
Oh, that just sounds dangerous.
Right? It's like boiled shrimp on a bed of like dirty fried rice. And they sell this stuff with it called crack sauce, which is like a garlic butter pepper sauce.
Get out of here.
So good. Dude, it's so good. It's so good. Me and the guys at work, like my shop's right off the Beltway, not far from our neighborhood, but it's like once a month we'll be like, hey, you want to get a Loud Pack? It's like the whole office is like,
yes.
You getting Loud Packs? Like, yeah, we're getting Loud Packs.
And I'm going home after that too.
Immediately going to sleep.
Everyone's going home.
But like, so Bourdain has his Houston show, right? And Slim Thug and Paul Wall's on there, and it was like, it's so cool because like I grew up in Houston, H-Town down, born and raised, right? But Houston doesn't have a central artistic identity.
Yeah.
Like Nashville does. Nashville's country music, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
LA's Hollywood,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Houston didn't have that until Paul Wall and Slim Thug just kind of said, this is the Houston identity. It's screw music, it's gray tapes, it's you know what I mean? And so Houston just kind of embraced that as like, oh, this is our thing. So people that don't know anything about screw music are still like, yeah, man, H-Town down, screw music, you know? But it was cool because like you saw like in the early 2000s, all these like, what we always saw were just local celebs, Chameleon and Paul Wall, these guys like going nationwide.
Right?
Mike Jones, who? That whole thing like blew up, and it gave Houston this like
whole different vibe. Yeah,
like this is our thing, right? And there was plenty of other music coming out of it that's great. Like there was we always like we had ZZ Top, right?
Yeah. I think I've heard of them
once or twice. ZZ Top did a cover of a very famous Houston rap song.
No way.
And it was awesome.
Really?
You remember the song 25 Lighters on My Dresser?
Yeah.
25 lighters on my dresser.
Yeah.
Yes. ZZ Top did a cover of that.
Whoa.
Called I Gots to Get Paid.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
Oh.
Just heavy blues riff.
Okay.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Dude, I bring him up all the time, but my boy Pooch, he gets to do... Okay, for one, he is... In my opinion, he's probably the best mixer I've ever sat next to. I don't know. It's a hard one because there's a bunch. It's a really hard one, but for some reason, me and Pooch just are like boys.
Yeah.
He gets to mix some of the coolest bands in the world. Like he mixed Linkin Park forever. He mixed Jay-Z. He mixes Iron Maiden. He mixes ZZ Top. And it's like, dude, I remember being a kid and my dad being like, "This is my jam right here," and I'm like, I don't know who this is. Fast forward, and I'm like, I love them, and here's Pooch just like mixing them. But like, that's awesome that they did that song because I can just picture them being that cool. They're like, "You want to cover this song?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, that sounds cool.
We should do that." And they did a great job of it.
And then like, there's Billy, he pops on the guitar. He's like, "Does this sound good?"
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Yeah, let's go with it."
Is this badass? I thought it would be.
He's a little deep. Like, yeah, let's go with it. And then they just go. And I'm like, wow, I want to be that cool.
They did a music video for it, and it's just like them like posted up, like they're just like playing guitars in a gas station or something, and it was like, yeah, this fits.
Houston to me, okay, so I'm not from Houston, not born there. I didn't even know I'd ever live there. Neil moved there. I was living out of my suitcase, and I would come in and out of Houston. But before I moved there, one of my other friends who's a mixer and stuff, and we were on tour with, I think, Paul Simon at the time. When we left that tour, I came through on another tour, and he was a Houston native or whatever. And he's like, hit me up, I'll take you around. I'll take you to some Mexican joints. I'll take you to some beer joints, some ice houses. I was like, I have heard of ice houses. Because that's not everywhere, like an ice house is something very southern Texas.
Yeah.
And I was super hungover, and I did not want to go out, actually. And I was like regretting what I did the night before, and I text him, and he's like, "I got you. Don't you worry." And he picks me up, and it was in the Montrose area, I think, and he takes me to this like Mexican place, and it was all right. But then he could still see I was hurting. He's like, "All right, you need something better." So he takes me to the West Alabama Ice House.
Oh, good one. That's a good one.
That became my home.
Mm-hmm.
That changed my entire perspective of Houston. I would travel from where your neighborhood is. I would come in on tour. They'd be like, "Where do you want to go, Phil?" I'd be like,
West Alabama Ice House.
Yep. I want to go get tacos from the Mexican lady across the street. Mm-hmm. There's that. I mean, I think, and that's not a short drive. I'm talking that's an hour and a half in traffic.
Everything's an hour in Houston.
True.
Fuck where you are. You go 5 blocks, it's an hour.
True.
You get an hour to travel.
So I would go down there. I came in for like 3 days one time. I think I ate there for at least 2 days in a row. At least 2. It might have been 3. Neil and I were having this discussion one time. He was like, "No, you went there every day." I was like, it seems like a long drive, but that also sounds like something I would do.
But that's not wrong. Yeah.
They didn't even speak Spanish. I mean, or they didn't even speak English. It was only Spanish, and I would be like, come
on, bro, you're from El Paso. I'm sure you can get by.
I got by, but it was and I'm actually more Hispanic And okay, so I have more Mexican and Spanish in me than anything else, and I'm like a total gringo. Yeah. I'm like, I'll have 2 tortillas with some some guacamole, and it's like Super Troopers.
Yeah.
But no, I do have a new appreciation for Houston because as a kid growing up, like I said, all I would do is I would drive. We had family in Louisiana, so we'd make the long trek from El Paso down I-10. And if you've never seen that, there's a sign at the start that says Beaumont, Texas, 895 miles. And it doesn't register until you're about 400 and something miles into it, and you're like,
I'm not even halfway.
we still have how many more cities to go through? And I remember back, and you probably remember this too, but Katy. So again,
Katy was farmland.
It was
forever.
Well, there was a stadium that looked like it looked like the Dallas Cowboys practiced football, or I should say, the Houston Oilers at the time practiced football out there. So we'd be driving, and all of a sudden, here's this little town. It's like coming up Katy, and then a high school football stadium would appear out of nowhere, and I was like, "That's a high school? It can't be a high school." And then you'd pass it, and you'd still have another 30 minutes before you hit Houston.
Yeah.
But then it was like, then you're in traffic, and you go through I-10, through downtown, and then when you hit the other side, it was done. And I hated that drive. But then when I lived there, I was like, I get it. I like it.
Yeah. Well, Kelly and I went to a high school called Jersey Village, and it's called that because it used to be Jersey cow farmland back in the day, called Jersey Village. But it was like, Houston's this weird mix of industry. You got the largest port in the country, in the Houston Ship Channel, right? And so it's all blue collar and industrial, and then oil money.
I didn't even realize that there's a whole. I thought the rich part of Houston was like, I guess, downtown by Chevy Chase Drive or whatever.
I mean, that's still pretty rich.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not poor, but I mean, I was like, wow, that's rich. Then I drove out to where the oil is, like south, and I was like, oh wow, there's a whole nother style of rich out here.
Yeah,
I was like, this is some crazy stuff.
Yeah, dude. And like now,
every car that passed me was like a Maserati or a Ferrari.
And now, like all the burbs, like Katy has several $1 million estates, and the Woodlands and all these other, like, it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
13 million people
in Houston?
Yeah,
no, it's like 5.
No, it's bigger than that.
Ain't nobody got 13 million. No, Houston's got like...
We got to look that up.
Houston's the 4th largest or 3rd largest city, but I don't know about 13 million. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, but I always... Houston was the largest for a long time. And then Dallas, since they merged.
Yeah, well, so Houston gets kind of tricky because it's... so much of it is like unincorporated Houston. So like the Woodlands isn't technically Houston.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So maybe they're incorporating all the other
stuff. If you look at, like I told you earlier, Houston just grew out in every direction. So if you look at the Houston landmass, it's probably the size of Rhode Island.
Giant. Giant.
Yeah.
Someone told me that so there's the inner loop, which is 610.
Neil was talking to you about that. Y'all were talking about that on the podcast he was on.
Yeah.
There's a 610 loop, and then there's a beltway. So Houston's shaped like a bullseye. Right?
Yeah.
You got downtown, which is your bullseye. You got 610 loop, which is your first ring.
Yeah.
You got Beltway 8, and now they have 99, the Grand Parkway.
And that's like a 4-hour drive if you did the whole thing, right?
Yeah. It's chaos, bro.
That's crazy.
Chaos.
That is insane. I mean, that just shows you how big of a town. All right, since you're a Houston native, I would only come on tour, so I only saw like little bits. But one of my other favorite bars was the Rock Bar.
You
know what I'm talking about, right? Downtown.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That bar is like dark, dingy, trashy, but
Rock bar, dirt bar.
Dirt bar.
Dirt bar.
Is it dirt bar?
Yeah, dirt bar. I know that's the one.
Yeah, it's like right.
They do coin flip shots.
Yeah,
so
I'm always so drunk before I could.
That's the one. So
it's like really dark in there, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's right by Toyota Center and all that.
Oh
yeah.
It's by itself because for some reason there's nothing else around. It's like an open lot on this side, an open lot on this side.
Yeah, that's dirt bar. So actually not. Anyway, dirt bar has coin flip shots.
Okay.
Order a shot, bartender pulls out this big gold coin. Heads, it's free. Tails, you pay.
I love it.
I'm going there $5, just walk out.
I've never walked out of that place sober.
Stumbled out. Yeah.
And I've done some pretty fun stuff in Houston too. I mean, I've been able to play every stadium that you guys have and be a part of many things, but it's wild to me. I actually got to go to the buoyancy lab there too one time.
The what?
The buoyancy lab, the NASA. So where the space station or the
okay, I see what you're saying.
The NASA buoyancy, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it's where all the astronauts go, and they float in the water, and they have a whole space station submerged, and they go and practice in there.
That's awesome.
It was so cool, and that's the first time that I was ever on that long dang outer loop, and I was like, where is this taking me? I mean, it just was like forever, but it was taking me to the right place because the Kennedy, or is it Kennedy? No,
it's not Kennedy.
Kennedy's in Florida.
Whatever.
Yeah, that one. I drove all the way around, and down, and I was like, here we are. And
Johnson Space Center.
Johnson. How can I forget Johnson Space Center? Dang it! Look at me. I'm losing my mind. I'm not even 40 yet. I'm already losing my mind. But no, it was cool though. If you ever have a chance to go there, I mean, to me it was like one of the coolest things in Houston. And it wasn't even in Houston.
Well, man, Houston. So I meet people in oil and gas, right, that get dropped there from all over the world. I meet people from Nigeria, Germany, Japan, all over China, Australia. People that get picked up and just dropped into Houston. And because of the way Houston's designed, like I said, it's just exponential, just spread, right?
Yeah.
It can swallow you whole in a miserable way. Like, I'll meet people that are like, I hate it here. And I'm like, all right, pause, time out. What do you like?
Yeah.
And, what kind of music you like? What kind of food you like? Blah, blah, blah. And then I'll just start hitting them with spots that I like.
Yeah.
Houston is a big metropolis, right? But like I said, it didn't have its own identity for a long time. And Houston wasn't a busy town until like the 70s. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't, like downtown was pretty dead until 73, 75 when oil companies started to just throw it all up there, right? So people that get dropped here from other places that, let's say you land in like a suburb like me and Neil live in.
Yeah.
You would go outside the neighborhood and be like, this is all fucking warehouses and dead strip centers. This place sucks, But there's all these different communities, and there's a Chinatown, and there's all types of stuff all around the city. But if you don't know it, Houston does a pretty poor job of public transportation and city knowledge. So
that I will agree on that. One thing I will say about your neighborhood is Haircuts by Kenny. That place is the jam.
Paradise Valley in 1960. Really? I've never been. I go to the 5-star hair salon, $6 men's haircuts. Gave me my fade I got now. It's a little uneven, but it was $6.
Neil told me about this place. I was like, where are you getting that fade at? You got that deep line too. He was like, Haircuts by Kenny right up the street. I was like, what? He goes, it's really weird. There's no sign-in sheet. You just sit down and they choose you. I was like, what? He goes, take a good picture, show them what you want, and they'll be your best friend. And sure enough, every time I came in, there'd be like 10 or 15 people in the waiting area. And I'd sit down and be like, all right, this can be a while. And they'd be like, like, huh? Me? Like, oh, okay. And I get up and like, I always felt awkward because like, I'm cutting the line in front of all these other people there, but maybe they have a relationship with someone else here. And then then the same lady started choosing me. And I was like, I see what's going on here. But Houston, to me, I miss it. I will always miss that place. I liked it. I think it's awesome that you're friends with my best friend that I've known for 20 freaking years.
Yeah, what a small world, right?
What a small world. I mean, how are you? So I have to, to get away a little bit from Houston and the Bevvies of tequilas, but you're in Nashville. How are you enjoying Nashville? First time?
So I've been here once before, but it was super brief, so I won't really count it.
Okay.
I was on my way to a job in Pennsylvania and stopped in. I went to Losers, had a beer, and then like that was all.
Yeah.
All of Nashville.
Having fun?
Awesome, dude. Like such a great time. So everybody's been super nice. We went to the river hike out to Haspeth or Harpeth. Or,
the Harpeth,
yeah.
That's
went and hiked there yesterday. We bounced around, stopped and had a couple beers, and hit in some restaurants and generally just enjoyed it.
I love it.
That we're staying in the Nations is cool. It's like a little industrial hip spot, you know?
Yeah, and then you're back to Houston soon, and then you're in oil and gas or just oil?
Oh, those are one and the same.
Is it the same?
Yeah,
okay.
so what I do is steering while drilling. So I don't care if they're drilling for oil, gas, sand.
If they're drilling,
salt, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't care what they want to poke a crooked hole in the ground. We'll be there.
That's how. What's
works.
the deepest hole that you've been a part of?
Oh, deepest hole I've been a part of.
Only reason why I asked this is because, like, maybe 15 hours ago, I saw a video of them showing a guy go 18,000 feet into the ground.
A guy went 18,000?
Well, like it was a drilling guy, and they were showing like them bringing the rods up, and they'd showed a screen, and they had a little 18,800 and something feet. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
We regularly do over 22,000 feet.
Wow.
So
I mean, that's
I don't want to get like
I don't even know
the technical on you.
No,
here,
I love
like,
it. I want you to get nerdy, and that's the reason why I asked this.
So what we do, and kind of how I got in the industry, I went from bartending to the oil field.
And you learned on the job?
On site.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was really like the way they hire you is like, are you committed to being away from home for 30 days at a time? And if you go, yeah, I don't, like at the time I didn't have kids or wife or nothing. It was like, sure,
let's do it.
Send me wherever you want to go. And I went out to Louisiana. I was outside of Shreveport.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they hire us is they'll be like, hey, we're going to go 2 miles down and then 2 miles out. We want you to hit this 5-gallon bucket.
Wow.
And so we have instrumentation that steers the well.
That's crazy. And how is there different rods that they use to drill?
Well, so when you say rods and stuff like that, I imagine you're probably talking about some production stuff. So there's like in drilling a well, not to bore the viewers here, there's like 3 different stages before a well's producing oil.
Uh-huh.
You got to poke the hole in the ground.
Gotcha.
That's what we do. We actually create the well. We create the hole in the ground. And then you go in with rods and you pressurize the well.
Gotcha.
Which is fracking, right? And then production is once the frack is done, you've created all this pressure around your hole. So you drill 2 miles down, 2 miles out. You pressurize it. You basically like pop a balloon down there, essentially, right? And then once that balloon pops, everything from the outside of the well caves into that hole that you drilled, and it comes up the wellbore. So drilling, completion, and then production.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the rod
rods is mostly production.
Okay.
Yeah. So what they do is they put
those are the guys that sling like chain.
No, those are drilling guys. Those are roughnecks.
Okay.
So your drilling rig rigs up, pokes the hole. Drilling rig leaves, and then your frack crew comes in. They come in. They seal the well, pressurize it, frack it, and then once it's fracked, all that pressure is going to come into the wellbore, and then they leave, and then the production team comes in and puts it online to a pipeline.
Crazy.
And you're talking about like hundreds of trucks over the course of that job.
Oh my gosh.
So we're there for like, let's say it takes us 30 days to drill a well, which in 30 days, if we're still drilling, something's going wrong. Like we drill pretty fast. Like we do 20,000 foot wells in South Texas in like 4 days.
Wow. Just down.
Yeah.
Do you have crews running 24 hours or is it just?
So when I first got into the industry, I went to Louisiana, I went to South Texas. I did a little bit in West Texas. I was out near like Orla.
Yeah.
You been to Orla?
I haven't been there, but I've heard of it.
Me. Orla is so I got directions to this rig, and the way that you get dispatched to those jobs, they send you an email, and then the manager will just text you like, hey, check your email. Read your email, and it's like dispatch directions. Your job site is in Orla, Texas. And so it gives you directions to Orla. So I was like, I never heard of Orla. So I Googled it. And Google was like, Orla is a ghost town. It literally is. People go ghost hunting in Orla because there's nothing. The closest, and like when you're at a rig site, everything you're doing is like dipping Copenhagen and watching TV.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So the nearest gas station was Carlsbad, New Mexico.
Oh my God.
The nearest gas station. So it was an hour and a half to get to the nearest gas station.
And you had to cross a border.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a state border. But
285, baby. Pecos to Carlsbad.
Pecos? That's funny, man. That's out there, too.
West,
that is a wild west.
I really enjoyed South Texas. So
I like South Texas.
I did a bunch of jobs in Cotulla and Carrizo Springs and like the valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's cool about down there is it's like you feel like you're an American settler because you look in all directions and there's nothing, right?
Yeah.
You get up on this bluff and you can just see like in the middle of the night. I worked the night tower all the time, so I was always up in the middle of the night. But you get up on these bluffs and you just look out over these ridges and you'll see these just drilling rigs that are bright lit up, look like spaceships just spread out over miles across. And they're just little light towers that are just poking holes in the ground.
Yeah.
And they move every couple of weeks, and they just...
So, yeah, so you're basically taking one of those, let's just call it an Eiffel Tower-looking object, and you're just moving it 1,000 feet, or are you moving it a mile?
Well, it just depends on
just kind of
what
they're
contracting
gotcha.
is. So some of those guys will do... They might move it 10 feet and drill another well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How big is a well potential? Like when you're talking about like when you get to an oil, let's just call it a balloon. What would be the circumference of that?
Hole size.
Hole size?
Hole size. So we drill...
Oh, that's the
term. You want to get real nerdy?
Yeah.
We get real nerdy?
Yeah.
So we're going to drill a tapered string. A tapered string is going to be a 3-string design, a 12 1/4 surface hole.
Okay.
8.5 inch intermediate, and a 6 3/4 lateral. And the reason we do that is because as you get deeper, you have to seal off the walls of the well.
Yeah.
So you have to run casing, which is like a big, thick steel tubular pipe to hold the hole open.
Yep.
So you drill your 12 1/4 surface section to, let's say, like 5,000 feet. You run your 10-inch whatever casing, and you go in with 8 3/4 inch hole. You drill out the next section, and you case it off. And then when you go down, curve, lateral, and reach way out there in horizontal drilling, you got to go a little smaller each time you do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
Know
what's funny? So I got into this industry thinking like, okay, I got to get my engineering degree to do this. Everybody out there has like an 8th grade education.
And it's all a bunch of roughnecks. And most of them are missing fingers too from throwing chain, right?
Well, it's a bunch of dudes that really just like, it's just like, imagine being a plumber or an electrician. Like if you learn how to do it, like essentially what I did was navigate well bores with like military grade technology, which sounds really cool. But what I did was I took a cable, I plugged it into this little barrel, and then I filled out an Excel sheet, hit send, and then I pick it up, put it at the drilling rig, and then we go to drilling.
Yeah. But I think the key to it is exactly what you said. It doesn't matter about the education. It's about how much are you willing to learn and how much are you willing to like go in and do a good job. Because at the end of the day, you are doing work and you're going really deep into the earth where there's a lot of pressure. And if that hole fails, then you fail. So you want to do it one time and you want to do it good. So no matter how much you party or no matter how big your education is, you want to show up and drill a good hole.
Oh man, you'd be
surprised. It sounds really maybe uneducated, but it is very educated though. It doesn't matter. Like I'm always a big fan of that because like I got into rock and roll because I didn't want to get an education, and I ended up learning technology that people go to school for years to learn, and I just learned it because I was like special. I was lucky enough to be around people that were willing to teach me, but I was willing to learn. So the same with you, you know.
So I tell guys that get hired on in the oil field, best thing you can do to have a successful career, keep what we call a tally book. It's basically a notepad. Keep it in your pocket and ask questions.
Yeah.
If you don't know something, ask a question and then just show a general interest in the other people. So like what we did was a contracting service. We lived on site, but I didn't work for the actual rig.
Gotcha.
So like there's the roughnecks and the driller that actually works on the rig. And then I'm just one of the guys on site that works for another company. But I'd go up to the rig floor and be like, hey, Bubba, what do you do? He'd be like, come walk with me, bro. We put in Pinch Copenhagen. You walk with him for an hour, and he shows you how his job goes from day to day.
Yeah, you just learn.
And then you're just a guy that's out there.
That's cool, though. I really respect that of you. I think that's like giant to me because I don't think that everybody has to go through a college. I think some people just are.
I think to be a basketball coach. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, really?
I wanted to coach basketball. Ended up at a drilling rig. Never turned back. I still play. Got a little gas in the tank.
got a little shot and you left.
No, my jumper's trash. But I play like Dennis Rodman. Like I'm generally like a scrappy dude. I'm grabbing boards and
you're just pulling people down
and carrying on. Yeah, yeah.
I used to play ball with one of my roommates' friends. He was 6'10". I knew I was going to lose every time, but one time I got close to beating him. I've never seen a man more angry in his life because I'm like 5'8" on a good day.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm not slouching. And he was just so mad because I had finally figured out his moves and I was able to like juke just a touch just to get by him and get like a little free, you know. And there's no way I was hitting threes over him and there's no way I was hitting jumper shots. So I had to like underhand him. Yeah, I had to be creative. I think that's the key to it all, man. And I honestly have had a blast having you on. This is super cool to me because I want to break out of just interviewing strictly people I am comfortable with, you know. And so this was a good challenge for me today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out here on your vacation and spend a couple hours with
me, dude. Beautiful home, beautiful family. Thank you.
I mean, this has been an awesome time, and I really, really hope that any time that you're in the area that you make it an actual thing to just say, well, I'm going to come by Chris's house.
Same back to you, man. You and the family, y'all come down to Texas and hang out with me and our lousy mutual friend.
We both stare at the camera. I'll make sure to upload that one to like TikTok.
Please.
I love giving him hell. He's like, he gets so wound up that it's like magical.
Yeah.
But Riley, man, I can't speak more highly of this conversation, and I thank you so much again. And well, when you went to go use the men's room, I actually had 2 shots of tequila brought out here. Now,
I didn't notice those sitting right there, staring right back at me.
Now, it's not the Socorro, because when you did drop that bottle off, we finished it that night.
I'm happy for you. I meant to bring one too, man. I left it on my counter. We were late getting to the airport. We were hauling ass through security, and like we got to our gate, and I was like, damn it! Immediately remembered them. I'll ship some up for you, buddy.
I appreciate that, and I would love to add, if you have a sticker, I would love to slap a sticker.
I was gonna say, man, I'll throw some.
Talk to the guys.
For sure.
Yeah. Let's bottoms up this shot of tequila.
Okay, so tequila. Yeah. We're gonna walk through a little taste profile on this. I tried some earlier. Okay. Right? Delicious stuff. I don't remember the name of the brand, but what I want to show you is what's so great about tequila that people are starting to appreciate. So go to the nose on it first. Take a little sniff. You get those little notes of caramel and cinnamon. Right?
All right, hold on. That was a little stuffy.
Deviated septum.
Too much partying earlier in my life.
So you notice you get those cinnamon and caramel flavors, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So
that caramel. Wow, I never noticed caramel before.
Right. Agave is a natural sweetener. They use it for margaritas and whatever else, right? So when you age it, all those sugars mellow out, and you create this cinnamon caramel finish. So a lot of tequilas, your reposados and your añejos, they're going to finish on that sweet, rich flavor.
Gotcha.
Right? So when you sip this, don't just shoot it back and slam it. You want to sip, savor, swallow, and then exhale real slow out of your mouth. What that's going to do is it's going to open up all the taste buds in your tongue.
All right, I'm just going to do a little sip.
Cinnamon, molasses, caramel, vanilla.
Yeah, interesting.
Right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Whoa. I'm a little mind blown right now.
Salud, mi amigo. Thank you so much for having me on.
Bottom's freaking up, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much.
Later, folks.
If you're in Houston, go eat some, what's the place called? That hot pot?
Oh, Lotus.
Lotus.
Shout out to Lotus Seafood.
Bottoms up. Cheers, everyone.
Later, y'all.